welcome back to my channel. So today's video is all about some of the most expensive mistakes that I often see new options traders make, and it's usually repeated week over week. So I definitely wanted to make this video to provide understanding and to clear the misconceptions. That way everyone can start the year off right. And if you are looking to trade and invest this year and you're brand new to it, hopefully this video doesn't feel intimidating, because I definitely want to break down understanding the risk dynamics and the elements that drive prices. So hopefully you can avoid these core mistakes in order to elevate your trading. Okay, so jumping straight into it, y'all can see I have Google pulled up here on the option chain. And currently at the time of filming this video, Google is trading for $314.34. So I definitely want you to keep that in mind as we go through this video. Okay, so I want to go over a few strike prices, because at the core, some of these costly mistakes aren't just a simple error. It's really a pattern of behavior that repeatedly drains capital for too many traders that I've seen, especially those who are brand new to options. So what I have noticed, especially within the last 6 months of me mentoring new traders, is that some of the most harmful decisions are when traders repeatedly buy or sell options without integrating these three key realities. The first one, of course, is going to be the implied volatility. Second is going to be how time decay erodes a contract and its value much quicker than some may anticipate, and then how position sizing and stop and exit protocols, how they can control your risk or actually put you at more risk. So more often than not, I like to explain to new traders that this is a recurring cycle, and any little small change, whether it's like a small directional idea, it can become leverage or it can actually magnify a loss. And sometimes it's before you even know it's happening. Now, I know some of the things I'm going to mention are going to sound cliche in this video, but I'm telling y'all, a lot of the stuff I'm about to go into detail about is the difference maker, and I cannot stress it enough, y'all. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and take a look at this 310 strike price right here. Now, we're going to look at it on the call side and the put side. So let's start over here on the calls. Now, we can clearly see that the open interest is at 1,617, and we see the volume is at 835. The delta is at $67 with a gamma to follow with $4, and then the theta is at $72. Now, just automatically by me saying that out loud and pinpointing the numbers, we can obviously see that the theta is higher than the delta. Now, I won't spend too much time going over this specifically because I have made a ton of videos talking about why you should have a higher delta than theta. But if you're brand new to trading, you may actually overlook this, especially if you're trying to trade within the money and you're looking for a cheaper premium. Now, speaking of the premium price, we can see here that the ask is $620, which isn't extremely expensive, but I know for some it can be. But regardless to that, it's important to understand exactly what we're looking at for these numbers. Now, with 3 days of DTE until these contracts expire, entering into a trade like this would actually be completely pointless, simply because you don't stand to gain more than you actually lose. So that's the first thing I just wanted to knock out the way. You want to make sure that your delta is higher than your theta. If not, then you're just throwing away money, regardless of the premium price being expensive or inexpensive. At that point, it becomes irrelevant. Now, taking a look at this strike price of 310 still, but looking at the put side, we can see that the open interest and volume are in the same range. Open interest is at 3,399 and volume is at 3,615. But again, we see that the delta is at $30 and we can see the theta is at $56, presenting a lose-lose situation if you're entering this trade. So always keep in mind that the Greeks do matter. It definitely is important if you're trading options. So that's covering the first thing. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the drop down here for February 6th and these weeklies for 31 days of DTE. We're going to go ahead and take a look at this same strike price of 310. But this time we're going to notice some major differences. Let's look over here on the call side. So what may be the most obvious that stands out first is that the asking price is $1,630, which is a little pricey if you're brand new. So that may deter some automatically from wanting to enter these types of contracts just because of the high barrier of entry. Now, when we take a look at the delta, we can see it at $58 and the theta is at $24. Now, what this means is that for every $1 move up in Google's share price, the call gains about 58 cents. Now, it's definitely not a lottery style call. It behaves more like the stock exposure with leverage. Now, with the theta being at a negative 0.24, buyers need continued upward price action soon to offset that decay, because again, this contract would expire in 31 days. Now, when we take a look at open interest and volume, we can see that they're also within the same range relatively. Open interest is at 179 and volume is at 128. This suggests that recent activity, not a long-standing institutional build, is taking place. So likely there's been some short-term directional trades, not a major positioning anchor. And that's strictly based on the fact that this is moderately bullish participation in the market, but nothing extremely dominant. So traders are just expressing the upside exposure rather than institutions defending or building a large level. Now this is revealed to be true because when we take a look at this same 310 strike price here on the put side, this is where the story shifts. We now see that the open interest is much more massive at 10,939 open contracts. Now this is position leveling, not casual trading. Now the volume on the other hand is low at 103, and that's relative to the OI. So what this tells me is that most of these puts were opened earlier because today's activity is just maintenance, not necessarily fresh aggression. But to take it a step further, let's also take a look at the Greeks. We can see that the delta is at $42 and then the theta is at $20. So what that means is that these puts still carry meaningful sensitivity, and if price falls toward the 310 downside, the exposure is going to accelerate. Because no matter what contract you're trading, the theta is always going to work against you as we get closer and closer to the DTE. So sellers benefit if price stays above the 310. Now the reason why I'm saying that this strike price is structurally important is that large players are involved here. It could either be some sort of hedging for long stock exposure, it could be selling puts to define a downside floor, or positioning around a key technical area. But either way, there's definitely going to be a call versus put imbalance on this, because nothing about this is going to be neutral. So when you understand that information internally, you understand that institutions care far more about protecting or monetizing this 310 level, and the market is far more focused on downside risk management than upside speculation, especially at this strike. And then on top of that, we also got to keep in mind the asking price is only at $1,075. So what this implies for the price behavior is that this 310 strike, this is a magnet level into expiration. It's more so like a decision zone if price pulls back. Now, another element to keep in mind that many new traders ignore is the triple M. Again, they have it listed at a plus or minus 3.49. So essentially, this is an estimate that I'll round up to $3.50 to the upside or downside. Now, the reason why this is impactful is, again, Google is trading at $314.34. So a reasonable measure is looking at this 310 strike comparatively. So I hope that makes sense and y'all can kind of tie in what I'm referencing. Now for those who are brand new, now the theta decay is going to also accelerate against put buyers, but price stability is rewarded in this case. So you would have to be very quick with your decision making. Now if the price drops below the 310, the gamma effects is going to increase as well. So hedging activity can amplify the volatility, and that large put wall can suddenly matter a lot more. Now currently the volatility for this weekly set of contracts is 37.79%. So if you're looking at this from a pro level, this is going to make it super simplified for y'all. Always make sure you understand the upside participation exists, but in this case it's light and it's tactical in my opinion. Now the downside positioning at this 310 level is of course a little heavy and it's intentional. The strike is more about risk control than speculation. And again, the numbers pretty much prove this. So the market is signaling above 310 is acceptable, but below changes the tone. Now with the implied volatility, this completes the total picture because you can layer this into what you already see in order to make a clear decision. The IV is not extremely elevated in comparison. It's not distressed because clearly we can see at 37.79%. That's pretty much what it is when we look at all the rest of the weeklies that follow, even going into the year 2027 and 2028. These are all going to be within that 37% range, with the highest being 41.88%. So for a mega cap company like Google, with consistent liquidity, this sits to a neutral to compressed volatility regimen. And basically all that means is that it's consistent across the board. And that translates into the options market not expecting a sharp expansion in the range over the next month. Now again, the holidays have come and gone, so this is how you should be analyzing the market in the upcoming weeks. Now that's the key connection that I find most new traders miss. And it's again no fault to new traders because it is a learning curve that does take place. But basically all that I'm saying here is that the risk should be acknowledged, not necessarily feared. Because if there was any major concern in either direction, the skew would be stretching faster, and put volume would be expanding aggressively, and the IV would be a lot higher. Instead, IV is completely contained, but the put volume is light relative to the OI, so that is something to keep in mind as well. But in this case, the time decay does kind of play into the favor of sellers if they're already in this position and they act on it quickly. That combination points towards income without having to necessarily panic. So even with an understanding that $19 a day is what you would stand to lose, put buyers would still gain that $42. Now sellers gain that decay without needing price movement drastically. That explains the imbalance because calls are being traded in, again, a tactical way, but puts are being held strategically. So the market is basically paying the investor to stay protected, not to speculate. Now you'll notice that this 310 strike sits fairly closely to this $3.50 move of the expectation going up or down, and that reinforces why the strike is being used as a control level. Because again, it's no coincidence that over 10,000 put contracts are open for this strike price. Essentially, what the market is effectively saying is that it's prepared for the downside, but it's not paying up for the fear. So this is measured caution, not necessarily alarm. But I will say this setup only shifts if you see one of these three. And this is where new traders often make a mistake. Now, if the IV pushes above the high 30s very quickly, that's a cause for concern. Additionally, if put volume also overtakes the call volume at this same strike, that's also a reason to pay attention to the market. And then lastly, if price acceptance below the 310 with rising delta on those puts, if that shifts, again, that's another clue to be on high alert. Until then, the structure favors range discipline, to be honest. It's not necessarily going to be any heavy momentum or noise because clearly it'd just be a moderate trade. So I hope all of that makes sense. Okay, so that was the first major thing I wanted to discuss. Now let me go back up here to the top and we're going to take a look at 3 days of DTE once again. Now, another expensive mistake that I often see new traders repeat every single week is actually believing that the lower cost of the premium is going to be to their benefit simply because it doesn't cost much to get into the trade. That is a huge misconception. Paying less doesn't always equal gaining more. Now, new traders, especially those that are attracted by the low-cost weekly options, they often think that options are cheap and simple because of the directional moves. But this is exactly where the trap begins. You can easily be overpaying for time and underestimating decay. Now, the pattern, not the market, is the issue in that case. So, for example, at this 320 strike here, you may look at this premium and see $120 and it looks appealing. Now, with it being a short-dated option, obviously paying a higher price would not make sense either, because you'll obviously have a heavy theta no matter what, even with modest expected price movement, and even if it was to be elevated. This creates a problem that the direction alone can't solve. So just be fully aware that this doesn't feel like one mistake. It can be something that you get trapped into, because if the trader repeats the same setup each week, they deplete money every single week as well. And I can't tell you how many times I had to correct people on this, because the anatomy of a costly mistake is always going to lead to regret. So if you look at some of your recurring losses in the very beginning of when you learned how to trade, you'll notice that you were making decisions based upon the actual net capital you had. So ignoring the implied volatility, this is a major drive of the option premium cost. I've even seen where some new traders will often buy high IV options because they look cheap based on dollar cost, and they don't necessarily price in the dynamics of the full contract. Prices can be definitely inflated, and buying at this point means paying high for a chance rather than for the actual value. Now, in addition to that, another mistake that happens quite often, I've noticed that some new traders will take into account what they have as far as their starting capital, and then they use that as a position sizing metric. But it's usually not proportional to what they have in their account. So for example, some may start off with, let's say, $2,000, and then they'll enter into a trade that costs $1,000 up front. Now, trading 50% of capital on one option is a recipe for account destruction, because that's way too much to risk on just one trade, regardless if it's a high probability setup or not. Now, some may argue against this, but I always make sure that people understand that there are so many different trades you can take that you can actually afford without having to have such a high risk up front. Risking 10%, 15%, or even 25% on a trade will at least keep your account in the green at a longer rate. Because again, all it takes is one bad trade. If you're risking 50%, at that point, you pretty much have to reevaluate, or you run the chance of risking your entire account on the next trade. And that's a very costly decision to make. So even if it's a scenario where you're a new trader and you buy out the money contracts, for example, if you have a weekly loss of anywhere from 40 to 60% on a trade, and let's say you multiply that by 3 or 4 trades a month, you're definitely not going to end in the green. And you're not considering having risk management, it's really just a bunch of aimless trades taking place. And again, you want to avoid that at all costs. Because if you repeat this quarter after quarter, it explains why this is going to be underperforming for your actual P&L. And I don't even know if y'all know this, but they say the options market, like if they were to total it all up from actual losses that people took, it actually is in the billions of dollars. So you definitely don't want to participate and be on that side of history. Now, real quick, y'all, I want to go over some of the pros and cons of some of the concepts. That way this all ties together to make sense. First things first, you should always know is that any reduction in repeated loss will help you preserve your capital. That kind of just goes without saying. But one thing I always help new traders understand is that based on probability and pricing, you have greater consistency. Even if your individual results aren't huge wins, you can compound those strategies and wins over time. And all that does is set up a framework for scaling, so you can build a disciplined approach without having a huge struggle in the very beginning. So some of the best things to have full understanding of as you're learning is going to be the implied volatility. You always want to pay attention to the option Greeks, and then take a look at short-term performance and historical data. That way you can cut down on any type of like lottery style trades. You don't want that, because higher variance is often mistaken for opportunity. Now, some traders also resist disciplined timing on their trades because they feel like they may be missing out in some ways. But trust me, discipline always feels slower, but is far more profitable in the long run. So a step-by-step way to fix this is to definitely match your strategy to buying and selling based upon volatility and liquidity. And y'all heard me talk about that several times in my videos. And if you can have that understanding with the near-term expirations for the weeklies, this will give you like an income defined risk, I'll call it, because that strategy helps you avoid those daily losses. And y'all know I'm big on having defined exit parameters, but we'll get into that in the next video where we go over the charts. Definitely want to focus on the option chain for now. Because one of the most common things that I'm finding is many new traders lose discipline because they don't know where they'll exit the trade before committing. And more often than not, the DTE will force them out of a trade. You never want that to happen either. So keep your risk capital intact. Never let a single trade's outcome threaten your overall account. And if you have to paper trade for at least a month or two, there's no harm in doing so. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I definitely think it can help in a lot of situations. Because at least you'll know the probability expectations, and you can see real numbers play out and not just theory. Alright, y'all, so just to wrap all of this up, the most expensive mistake isn't a one-off. Hopefully you understand that it's a pattern of behavior that can recycle capital into the market, or you could be the one that's actually taking money out the market. Because it'll never just cost you money, it's also your time you're investing as well. So hopefully this doesn't detour anyone's confidence, and you can use it to just help your trading psychology and understanding how discipline is important so that your performance is just at a higher level. Because y'all know I'm all about capital preservation. So yeah, I say all that to say that I hope y'all found some value in this video. If so, y'all already know what to do. Feel free to leave me a comment down below. As always, I thank y'all so much for watching. And of course, I'll see y'all in my next one.